Good morning. Hey, everybody. Starting a little later today. My apologies. So, welcome to the final day of the 2D Animation Virtual Summit. I'm a little better than yesterday, but as you can tell, my voice isn't back yet. So, sipping on mint tea. Meanwhile, so today after lunch, we're going to be giving away a whole lot of stuff. Let's see. And Darren, I would love to take a look at the Toon Boom Harmony Render Farm. Got the very white voice going. Yeah. I wish I could control this, because I could be like, in a world. Yeah, today we, well, actually, we're going to start off, I don't know, where's my phone? We're going to start off with, AJ Kote, from Toon Boom, actually. I'm going to be talking about the classes that are available. He doesn't like me to call him my boss, but hope you're feeling better, Tony. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it. Okay. Let me double check my timing here. Okay, cool. Got about 5 minutes. So yeah, up first is AJ. And again, he is it's who I report to at Toon Boom when I'm teaching classes for Toon Boom. So it's pretty cool. And after that, I think we have Ollie Putland, and Ollie, as always, I think the full video of me and Ollie is almost like maybe an hour and a half, because ours always go long. So you won't see that full one today, but the full one will be available online next week. We'll send out an email, and so again, if you haven't signed up for the list, that's what we'll be sending. Hey, by the way, here's where the playlist is. Here's where the full playlist is of the videos from this week. So. Yeah, I'm not a fan of when my voice goes this way, because it basically means I can't really record stuff. So, like I said, if I could control it, I'd start doing voiceovers during this point. So, okie dokie. Which I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but if anyone's ever trying to do something like this, the software I'm using is Ecamm Live, and I'm running that connected to Restream.io. So Restream is actually what's putting it on YouTube as well as on Facebook. And then the rest of it's just me physically going in and pointing a domain name to different YouTube videos. So if there's one thing that I can give you advice on that I don't use enough of, is automation. Having things automated when you can. For instance, in a best world, best case scenario, all of the emails that got sent out to the group this week would have been already scheduled like last week, and they would have said, okay, on Tuesday, here's this date, here's what's happening, yada yada yada, versus you having to go in and physically get everything ready. Automation also happens when you're doing like sales or pre-sales, or if you're doing what's called a sales funnel. Like if somebody downloads a free thing, or a free class, you'll automatically send them out an email in a couple of days. Hey, how did that go? Did you like it? Or what did you like about this? Little fun stuff like that. So automation is key, especially if you're running things by yourself. Comes in handy. Technically, I think Ecamm Live, I could literally chain a bunch of videos together and have them run back to back. But I kind of like playing DJ here, so. Alrighty, so let me. I am trying to see if I did something. I hope I did. We'll find out in a second. I'm trying to remember, did I actually bring over everyone for Friday? I don't think I did. Yep, so hold on 1 second. Yeah, AJ's video's not that long, actually. Alright, just hold on 1 moment. While Tony's figuring out what's going on here. So it's AJ. Wow. Okie dokie. Just getting a bunch of videos together. So, by the way, I do have a question. Everybody's suggesting a podcast. What would the podcast be? Would it be something similar to this? Would it be something different? I don't know. I often wonder if I'm, when interviewing, am I talking too much? Okay. Let's see. Why is that going so slow? Okay, that looks like it's actually loaded now. Sorry about the delay. I forgot to download a video. So, up first is Mr. AJ Cote. Skipper Wing, something like this. Yeah, that's a possibility. I'm trying to figure out, do I want to do it that way, or like every episode you bring on someone new, and what is that? How am I not reading today? Someone new and do the same kind of questions you do here. Interesting. Up that wheel. Alright, so occasionally you talk about either a new favorite feature in Toon Boom or where the industry is headed. Okay, I can see that. Alright, so first up is call it the Animation Summit podcast and use it to promote the summit for next year. Yes, that is something that I was talking to my wife about yesterday. Like, how do we get the make sure it's gigantic? Because I have a secret list of people who I really, really, really want to interview, and that will actually help with that. So, coolness. All right, let me pull up AJ's video.
Hey, this is Tony Ross for the 2D Animation Virtual Summit, and I am hanging out with someone from Toon Boom. So I jokingly say this. AJ, what's going on, man?
Not too much, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing well. AJ, which I've probably AJ and I have exchanged emails and known about each other for probably years, and then he CC'd on a lot of emails, and then all of a sudden, because I do a lot of contract training for Toon Boom, all of a sudden I refer to you as my boss and or my handler. so yeah, it's people are like, oh, Tony, we really like this. Let AJ know.
Yeah, and we get a lot of those great comments. A lot of those. That's why we keep coming back to you.
Much appreciated, sir. So yeah, let's talk to you about, and I jokingly call you guys the education department, but it's like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm always helping like teach people stuff. So you're from, correct me if I'm wrong, is it professional development? Which one is it?
Professional services.
Professional services. Okay, I'm close.
Yeah. I'm the director of professional services at Toon Boom Animation.
Awesome. So you guys are based in Hawaii, right?
Oh, I only wish. We are based at Montreal, Quebec, Canada, but I am based out of the nation's capital in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, just 2 hours down the road.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Coolness. So I wanted to invite Toon Boom / AJ out because you all have started, what are we in? I think maybe is it the second year, or is it feels like it's the second year.
It's the second full year, or going into the third, I guess, of the online training classes. Mm-hmm.
And just kind of doing the reaching out and saying, okay, well, if you're trying to learn harmony, if you're trying to learn storyboard, so you all have started doing different classes. So can you tell me a little bit about that? What's going on with that?
Yeah, Toon Boom poured a lot of, like, over the years we've had, our product has, gained traction worldwide, and it's I'm a little prejudiced, but it's a little the de facto 2D software to go towards for the animation world, and we really cater to the animation community. And we saw a lot of people struggling to learn on their own, and Harmony is a very specific product, and we decided to develop a bunch of courses, and we poured a lot of resources from around the world into creating these courses, from your basic learner who just wants to be introduced to Harmony with our Harmony Fundamentals courses, to the advanced learner who already knows rigging in Harmony, want to learn more of the advanced rigging with master controls and stuff. We have advanced compositing with all your lighting modules and different things. We have even our technical director training, which is very specific, very, very, very high level stuff within not just the software, but within a 2D animation pipeline. So, and we've had great success.
Coolness. And I was like, you just said technical director. I was like, wow, I didn't even know we had that one. So I was like,
yeah.
So, and I, for one, like I said, I've got to hang out with a couple of those. I got teaching the fundamentals, but I've also sat in on some of the rig, like advanced rigging courses, and it's just like, and it's such, and again, not because you're my boss, and not because y'all are one of us.
Not really your boss.
well, technically, you're the person I report to. So the closest thing at Toon Boom I have is a quote unquote boss.
Yeah.
so Grand Poobah, as it were. And
I like that better. Does that age us with the Flintstones?
Just a little bit. So. And I think that the courses are pretty cool, and I like I think it was because of them being online, and even before the pandemic had started shutting everything down, just kind of having that kind of going back and forth with students is pretty awesome. and like just the what is that thing? They're not samples. They're the words, the examples, and the different pieces. I want to say that Matt did, I think Matt did some of them. Matt Watts or something.
Matt Watts did some stuff for the rigging course. He did
Yes.
he rigged the shark that we
yes,
had.
Sharkdorfer. Yeah.
Yes.
So that stuff alone is just like because one of the arguments I was having with Bernard and Bradley was a lot of times you'll see tutorials out and it's like, yeah, but why do I care about that character? And so then you watch the little short with Sharkdorfer and I'm like, that's cool. I was like, I want to see how that's put together.
Yes.
So I was also noticing that y'all have started doing classes not only in English, but correct me if I'm wrong, have you started doing them in Spanish as well?
Yeah, we've been offering them in Spanish and in French, and we're also expanding to more time zones around the world to accommodate our overseas people who want to learn. We are also going to be adding some in Japanese sometime in the new year as well. So we're really trying to grow our reach to everybody who is, because they're coming up really popular. So and our first set of courses in September was a huge hit for this school year, and so yeah, we're hoping to keep growing and expanding the time zones and our offerings.
Very cool. So let me ask you, how long have you been with Jimbo?
Well, that's a tricky question. So I have a long history with Toon Boom. One of the longest out there. 2003, here in Ottawa, there's a little studio called Mercury Filmworks that was beta testing the software. Mercury is, now known to be the premier studio in the world that really pushes the 2D puppet aspect of animation, and their stuff is absolutely beautiful. So I started with them in 2003 and have worked my way. We were dealing with Toon Boom on a daily basis with Francisco, who's one of the architects of the software. And then over the years, I've just used Toon Boom everywhere I went. And I was one of the first teachers at Algonquin College here in Ottawa to teach Toon Boom. I was then hired as an animation director / mentor in India, teaching studio there, Toon Boom, how to use it and everything. Came back home, and that's when I officially worked for Toon Boom just over 10 years ago. I was a worldwide trainer, or solution specialist as they call it nowadays. So I worked for a year and a half, and I had to always keep a bag packed because at any moment I was going somewhere in the world. In a year and a half working for Toon Boom, I hit every continent except for Africa. I was in South America. I was in Australia. I was in Europe. I was in Asia several times. I was just everywhere traveling with them. And then I came back home, and just as the pandemic began, I got hired on with professional services, but not as the director. And so that was almost 2 years ago now, because it's been almost 2 years since the pandemic started. So that's my long history with Toon Boom. It's like just coming back to work for them is just like coming back home. It's been absolutely amazing.
Very cool. So let me ask you this: since you're somewhat familiar, and again, it's neat working for a grand poobah that actually knows more about the program than you. Curious, what's your favorite tool, let's say, in 21 so far?
My favorite tool in Harmony 21 so far. That's a tough one. I don't get to use it at the level I used to and in productions and everything, but my favorite tool nowadays is always the master controls and how they change with every iteration now. Years ago when I was with Toon Boom is when they first got the deformers in, and that was a game changer. I remember that 10, 11 years ago, being able to deform an image and how they developed over the years. And now the newest thing is the master controls, and every new release we improve it and we improve it and we improve it, and it's just I don't know, it's another huge game changer for me to be able to grab just a control and be able to move a face around like it's a 3D character is I don't know, is next level for me. And so that's my long answer to probably what should have just been a short one.
No, it makes total sense. So I was chatting with Lindsay Noller, and trying to figure out, and we're talking about master controllers. She's like, master controllers. I was like, yeah, I was just doing the thing with sliders. She's like, okay, so are you more of the slider fan or the grid fan?
Oh, the grid. Sliders are cool, but it's the grid. It's being able. So a slider is, something that you can take. It's hard to explain without, knowing the software. But setting up a slider, you can have it so the eyes will blink or something. You can go like this, and the eye will close and it'll open. It's just a slider. But having that little floating dot and being able to grab, if you set up the face properly with the formers, like the setup is probably the hardest part, and adding the master controls is actually pretty easy stuff. And when you add the master controls and being able to just to do this, and it's on model because you set it up that way with over the years with rigs, one of my favorite things to do is rigging. It was one of my specialties forever. Was the hardest part was getting an animator to make sure that it stays on model, even if it goes down a little bit or goes up a little. We never built that into the rig much. There wasn't much time or whatever have you. But now it saves so much time in the animation process, which is so expensive to do, whether it's in any fashion, it's always the biggest chunk of your budget. But when you spend the time setting things up properly in rigging, being able to pull a head down and keep it on model just to make a character nod in just seconds, as opposed to tilting it upwards. Is this right? Is this the right perspective? Is it the wrong perspective? Is this the right perspective for the animator? Saving that time is so precious in a big production. So I don't know. I gush about the grid. No, and when I seen that, it's just crazy. And when it first came out, you used to have to know a little bit of programming. I think it was Hardware 17. You used to have to know a little bit of action scripting or something to be able to set up the grid and everything properly.
I think it was a JavaScript or something,
JavaScript or something. Yeah. I don't know how to do that. So it's one of the things I've never learned over the years.
Right.
So to be able to make it so simple to add and make the grid big, small, whatever, it's the simplicity is there now. Just like the formers. The formers before, when they first came out, they were awesome, but they were clunky, they break. Now there's so many different types of deformers. It's just there's weighted deformers. There's like area deformers. There's just the amount of tools that are there compared to the competition is like night and day. And the ability to make a cartoon now look like it's hand drawn, frame by frame, as opposed to moving, as they used to say, pushing symbols, which is a Flash term. It's amazing. Just look at anything that Mercury Filmworks does, and you tell me that looks like puppet animation. Look at the Lion Guard. Look at Hilda. Look at just those things, and that's what the software can do.
I was telling someone when I first saw the Lion Guard, this is before I even knew who Mercury was. I saw the Lion Guard and I was like, is this Lion King Part 5? Because I'm going, there was no way it's like, no way that's like TV animation. Because like they did this for feature films. Like, this is a series? And it freaked me out. And it's that whole thing of, and then understanding when someone says, oh, it's a cutout puppet or it's a cutout rig. I'm like, it's cut out? It's like, this is not your dad's cutout animation. This is like totally different.
No. If your viewers get a chance, check out an old show called Toot and Puddle. And it was part of one of their first times they really pushed the rig and the software. Okay. And if you were to see the show Toot and Puddle, it's absolutely amazing that this is not hand-drawn frame-by-frame animation.
Were they two pigs? I'm trying to think.
They were two pigs.
Okay.
Yeah. And the way they flow and they move, and it was fantastic. The stuff that they've been able to do to push us in the software further and further to not just them. There's other studios as well. I don't want to take away, but I'm partial to them because they were the first studio I got introduced to Harmony, and it changed my life back then when we were struggling to get work, and I was given this chance and starting with this new software in 2003. And since then, my life has never been the same since touching that software for the first time. So, and I credit a lot with Mercury.
Cool. Let me ask you this question. I was quoted, or one of the people that was training me in one of the classes actually, because I had said, what on average, how long does it take to build a rig? Because it's like animating is one thing, but on average, what numbers would you think if you say building out a rig?
A week, possibly, depending on the complexity. I mean, you can rig something to death and spend a month rigging something, or it all depends on what the production requires. Sometimes going the simpler route is better than going, with the more complex rigs, because it's depending on what you're wanting to accomplish. But nowadays, a good solid rig, 360 turnaround, will probably take a week. As one of your main characters, a week doing and getting it all flushed out.
Okay, coolness. Well, AJ, I am going to not keep you locked down because again, you all stay busy up there.
Yeah. And thank you very much.
So, anything you want to say in closing?
I can't think of anything at the moment, but I appreciate this interview, and I hope everyone will check out our online classes for Toon Boom. We have a new iteration coming up, new session in January 10th. We have, if you go to our website, you can see all the classes. And we also have the next one listed as well in February, which is mid-February, that we have another session. Check out all the different classes we have. We have everything from cutout animation to your paperless frame-by-frame animation, your introductions, Harmony fundamentals, if you just want to get started. We have compositing, advanced compositing. We even have a gaming one. Harmony now does gaming, so we have a gaming course that we're starting up in the new year as well. So we are ever expanding our software and the technology to not just encompass your television animation world or your feature films. We're also getting into gaming as well. So everybody check it out at toonboom.com.
Awesome. AJ, thanks again for taking time. I really appreciate it. And I'll be probably talking to you on totally soon. Different things like later today. So gotta love it.
All right. Well, you have yourself a wonderful weekend, Tony. And
all right.
Thank you for this.
You're quite welcome. This has been Tony Ross for the 2D Animation Virtual Summit with what? I never call you by your last name.
Cote. It's AJ Cote. It's a French last name with an English person attached to it.
Because I would have totally messed that up. Because I'm like,
that's okay. Yeah,
you're AJ. It's kind of like Prince or Sting. It's AJ.
I'm two letters instead of just a symbol.
Love it. All right. Have a good one.
You too, sir. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Alrighty. So yeah, that's my handler or grand poobah, AJ Cote. Yeah, love working with Jimbo. They're pretty cool people. So, say, what is that? Alrighty. That was great. Thanks, Skipper Wing. Appreciate that. So while we are waiting to come up with our next one, thanks, Darren. I appreciate that. Yeah, when AJ was mentioning Toot and Puddle, like, yeah, I've seen Toot and Puddle. I didn't realize I was in harmony. I was like, dang, y'all. What am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm in the wrong screen. So I'm gonna try something. Now I'm not technically. I'm not trying anything. I'm actually gonna show you all something. AJ was mentioning master controllers, and I'm gonna see if I can show you a little bit about that. I basically have several layers here. I've got the head, mouth, nose, eyes. If you notice, when I click on a different layer here, this is being kind of highlighted. It's because I have turned on what's called the light table. And the light table will let me know what layer I have active, which just comes in handy. In my node view, I'm going to come over here and give everybody a, oh wow, what's that called? A peg. Command Shift P. Thank you. So pegs will allow me to move each individual piece. And I'm going to come up here to my advanced animation tools. So, by the way, in case you didn't catch what I'm doing, I'm going to do a quick little master controller and attempt to do, I don't think I'm going to try to do everything, but, well, maybe I'll try. We'll see. What I want to do is, one, I'm going to come up here. Let's grab our thing here. Okay, so the pivot point for the eyes, probably dead center-ish. Nose, it's going to be about right here. Mouth, top lip, and the head, shoot, what do we make the center? Alright, so, let's collapse these. Do I really feel like making this a thing? Probably. Okay. So what I want to do, I think I am going to make, it's funny when you have sinus issues or something like that. It's like your brain is like sharing the gerbil. So it's like, I think I can pull this off. So let's grab eyes, nose, and mouth. I'm going to put all these under their own peg, I think. So Command P, thank you. Sure, let's make that about the middle. I can hear Lindsay yelling at me for not naming this, so give me a second. We'll call it ear, nose, and throat. I don't know. T. Peg. Okay. And we'll do another peg. Goes up here. Call this the headmaster. Headmaster peg. This one I think I'm probably gonna move it down here at the bottom. But this will actually control everybody. Okay, so on my timeline, if I press the number 0, everybody's collapsed. That's good. So what I want to do, I'm going to, save. But what I'll do here is I'll go ahead and I'm going to insert a keyframe. Alright, so let's say at the very beginning here, matter of fact, let's drop a keyframe at the second one. Okay, so at the beginning, for this frame 1, what I want to do is I'm going to grab all of these and kind of move you over here. And we'll take the nose that way. Okay, not terrible. By the way, let me see what this looks like. I'm going to add hit my plus sign on my keyboard. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's not bad. Hit minus 1, 2, 3. Thank you. So just testing out my little things here. Now, technically, I could go in with this first one and take the eyes. Let's say, make sure I'm grabbing the eye peg. Thank you. Maybe those get squished in a little bit. And maybe the mouth is squished in a little because it's on the side. So let's see what this looks like again. 1, 2, 3. All right, not bad. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So now we'll do another keyframe here, and this one. Let's grab these guys, move them over here. This other side. It's like, why am I doing that? Mouth, cleaning the eyes a little more. And the nose will rotate you this way. Now, we'll worry about the fact that it's cutting into that a little in a second here. So let's take a look. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm just adding my plus. I'm clicking on my plus sign. What is up with that mouth? Why did you look weird? Did you move? Am I tripping? Okay, that's better. Okay. So now, let me get rid of those little things here. Yeah, Darren, I'm actually, I was attempting to mute my mic when I was coughing, but I kind of did it reversed. Yeah, I'm toggling my microphone mute because I still don't have my voice completely and I'm still coughing, so I'm trying not to do that in the microphone. So you'll hear me turn my mic off, on and off occasionally, so. Okay, let me jump back over here. All right, so that's there. Let me copy this first one, the second one there. Come here, I'm gonna paste. This one, move these guys up. Kind of going to do a little bit of foreshortening here. All right, and let's see, the next one will be there. Let's copy that key, go paste. Grab that temporarily. Let's tilt that way. This is going to be really ugly, by the way, because this is me rushing. Last but not least, we're going to do the same thing for the bottom. So let's copy this one and paste. And we'll rotate this down-ish. Grab the second key. And we'll paste that. And this one, we'll pull this down a little bit. And again, do a little bit of foreshortening. So yeah, this is just really, really ugly, just so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Typically, I would have moved the head, but I'm not even doing that on this one. And then the third one, let's copy that key, and we'll paste that keyframe here. And let's grab this one, move our pivot, kind of have it going there. So yeah, it's going to be kind of ugly, but... So basically I have, what, 9 different positions. So I have the character looking to the left. I guess it's to the left, my left. Middle, right, upper left, upper middle, upper right, lower left, lower middle, lower right. Okay, so technically I don't even need these tweens here, so I'm going to take those out. If I do select all those and do Command L. All right, now probably a good time to save. Where are we on time? I keep forgetting to get my watch timey thing. Okay, we're good. Quit that. So what I'm going to do now, in my words, I need to make a new comp. So let's do Control H, a new composite here. This composite is going to be my master controller composite. I've set it as pass through just for the heck of it. Now, I should have given these little head or whatever their own composite, but okay. This little guy is going to come in handy a little later. But what I'm going to do, when you're talking about master controllers, this is just a very simple, ugly thing. I didn't even use any deformers at all. This is just me moving drawings around. So what I'm going to do next is come up top here and go to the grid wizard. This is my master controller's little area. So there's sliders, there's grids, there's all this stuff. So the grid wizard, oh yeah, let me select, before I do that, select head master P, then click on the grid wizard again. Thank you. So I'm just going to use a 3x3 grid. And what it's looking for is, I want to come in here, and if I click on this first one, what is this paying attention to? It's saying, okay, frame 1. It's like, well, if you look, frame 1 is the character looking to the left there. So center left, okay? All right, so if I click on this one, if I bring this up and put it on 2, if you look, it actually changed to 2. That's the second frame. That's what I want. Come over here. We'll make that 3. I think the next one we did is going to be up here. So yeah. So if you look, the way the character is looking is up there, it's up in that corner. Great. And this will be 5. So this is just a simple, really simple way of doing a controller here. So this is what AJ was talking about, master controllers. Which, by the way, I keep trying to do a live class on master controllers, so if any of y'all are interested, let me know, because I can either do a recorded class or a live class. I prefer live when possible, but okay. So that's done. We'll just call this something like, I don't know, head. And we'll click create. Oh yeah, sorry, empty selection. I hate when I do that. Let me go back for a second. What was I doing? No. Select that and create. Why am I doing that wrong? I know the answer to this. What am I doing? That's there. Okay. I'm wondering what am I missing? Why are you being weird? Hold that thought. Oh, did I not do the last one? I thought I did. Dang it. Let's try that one more time. Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay, let me go in here and figure out what I just did. Okay. Did I not add number 9 in? I thought we did. Did we not? Okay, call this test. Man, why are my controllers not working? Ah, there we are. Good grief. Why did you work that time? Okay, I need to go to that composite. Yes, please. Ah, thanks, Tim. All right, yes, we're calling that. Save our script. Yes, please. And all right, now, if you look, I've got this little weird thing here. I'm going to add a, what is that called? Let me add a peg to this so I can move it. Alright, so we've got our peg. We zoom out here and move you all the way over to the side here, just because. Alright, so yeah, I was like, I know I'm missing this, because that's the one funny thing. The annoying part and the awesome part. 9 times out of 10, if there's a glitch, it's usually user error. I'm not saying the software is perfect, but it's like, it is. That was the annoying thing, is me knowing, like, okay, I'm probably doing something wrong here. Alright, so let me move my playhead, like, way over here. Alright, so let's see what happens with this. Really? Am I tripping? Hold on. Ugh. Why are we giving me grief today? Why are you not connected? Okay, rewind. And this episode will be called Can Tony Do Any Rigging While He's Under the Weather? It's looking like a no. Ugh. What the heck did I do? Why aren't you moving? Alright, let me get out of here for a second. But got all my grids done. Yes, you're done. Let's get rid of you for a second. La 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 la. Let me start again just in case. This is being weird. Jeez. Now, the funny thing is, the person coming up next knows master controllers way better than me, which is Ollie Putland, which Ollie is awesome. Okay, that's right. And you are 6. Yes. 7. 8. And 9. Okay. So. Let's see if I did it right this time. Okay, yes. Great. Alright, then we save, yes. Close this window. What in the hell? That is weird. Ugh. We've got to find one of the ones I've already built. Anyway. Mind you, if I do a live class, I won't be doing it when I'm sick. That's for sure. Alright, where's our time? Alright, coming up on 11. Good, good, good. Why are you being weird? Okay. Hey, Tyree. So yeah, I'm curious. Do I have anything in my portfolio? Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, so while Ollie's is playing, I'll see if I can figure out what the heck is going on with my controller here. And why it's not working. Very odd, 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 odd. Alright, fine. Being weird. Da, 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 da. Turn those off. See if I can get away with a slider, maybe. So I'm going to do a simple little 3-frame blink here. Let's do, I quit it. Let's see if I can duplicate my drawing. Option Shift D, is it? Yes, Option Shift D. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this second little dude here. Let's bring this down. Second drawing, bring the eye down a little bit. And bring this down a little more. And we'll take this ugly little shape. Bring that down, go out a little bit. You're being difficult. Let's bring you here. Really? Bye-bye. Okay. Not terrible. All right, let's do one more. Option Shift D. And this one finally will be no eyeball. Let's take this and flip it upside down. Bring our pivot down a little bit, squish this down, bring out the sides, sure. Okay, let's pretty this up a little bit. Let's grab Mr. Cutter, go bye-bye, get you out of there. You out of there, cool. Bye, you, and you. Quit it. All right. Not terrible. Skipper Wayne, good luck on that, man. All right, so if let me see if I can do this right. Come over here, get rid of some of these little dudes. Bye-bye. And we'll turn that back on. If I were to grab these three things here and ask for what? A slider? Let's say eyes. Create. Alright, so it's saving my script. Let's see if I can get this one right. I think I can. So what this basically would do is I'm controlling that little thing there. Which would be even better if I actually had this like morphing between things. So but it's just a simple little slider. So but it comes in handy when you're doing things like mouths and things like that, if you actually had a deformer or anything with it. So I'm going to put something out there. And this is a challenge I put out to my students years ago, right when YouTube came out. The idea that, yes, I think 2D animation is blowing up because, of course, we've got all the streaming wars going on, as well as during the pandemic, we were one of the main groups that didn't really shut down because everybody's already used to working from home. So there's nothing wrong with trying to work for a studio and do your and going out there and, yes, I want to work for the studio, I want to do this. That's great. But please remember, when you're doing that, always work on your own projects, always work on your own goal. And if you say, this is kind of that whole thing of where I got into a heated debate with a little troll on my page the other day. Here's the deal. If you're tired and you get home from work, no one's telling you to actually do 8 hours in addition to that. Do what you can. Some days it's going to be more, some days it's going to be less. But if you can at least put 30 minutes toward your goal, that's a major thing. That's more like, that's like, for me, I know I've got my project, Very Angry. Did I spend 30 minutes on it yesterday? No. Did I spend 30 minutes over the last 30 days? No. So that's 15 hours. So that whole 30, 15. With the way that things are going right now, between, you got Tim Boom Harmony, you've got, if you're saying, well, I can't afford that, man. Well, great. There's Open Tunes. A small studio called Studio Ghibli Studio Ghibli used that. So there's that. 30, 15. Yes. So you've got, even in 3D, we've got, what is it? Unreal Engine and the MetaHumans, and now even Unity has actually bought Weta Studios. So all of that technology and software is about to be out there. So there's never been a better time to really work on your own thing and put it out there. Now, that being said, if you're used to working, well, because I know a lot of people have actually worked in studios, and then they come home and they make their own rig for their project as if they have a studio behind them. No, keep it simple. Put it together that if you personally are working on something, can you knock it out? There's a guy, I'll see if I can get him, I'll see if I can interview him one day. I believe he's still with us. I want to say Phil Nevitt. But he did Romeo and Juliet Sealed with a Kiss. He spent 4 years and made a feature-length film. Made it in Flash, by the way. And he was pretty much by himself. He used to work for Disney. And it took the same time that Disney uses to make a 2D film, but made his own thing. So yeah, do your own thing. There's nothing wrong with that. Call your own shots. There's something wonderful about that, and you'll hear Robert Valley talking about the freedom of doing that. He also talks about a work-life balance, which for those of you out there, definitely take notes on that, because it blew me away. Because I'm trying to think. I don't even know if I actually had planned on asking him that question, but the answer was really awesome. So, where are we at on time? Da, 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 da. Okay, perfect. So I believe We get ready to pull up our next one here, and this is Ollie. Now, I will let you know. I don't think we actually got, but if we're 45, we get 45 minutes into the thing. We haven't even started talking about his piece Empress yet, the new rig that he just made. But if you check out Toon Boom's blog, I know they did a thing with him yesterday at 4, where they're talking about it, and I love Ollie, and he's a great educator, an incredible artist. Who works on he builds or animates straight ahead, not pose to pose, because he's like trained in doing stop motion. So yeah, it's crazy. So meanwhile, let me pull this up. La, 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 la. Okay.
Hey, this is Tony Ross with the 2D Animation Virtual Summit, and hanging out with my friend, colleague, and fellow animator instructor, Mr. Ollie Putland.
Hello.
Ollie, what's up, dude?
Hello, I'm all right, yeah. I'm still chugging through. It's a lovely sunny day in Bristol today. Bit overcast, but we're okay, yeah. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm in. How is it that you're in like Britain and stuff with no rain, and I'm in Atlanta with rain?
Occasionally, it's part of the trade agreement. Occasionally, we just swap our weather over. But no, it'll be pretty grim soon enough, I'm sure. I mean, it's been a fairly mixed summer this year, actually. I quite enjoyed it, but a lot of people said constant rain. I don't notice. I don't really notice if it's rain. I just think, oh, that's standard. And if it's a sunny day, it makes a huge impact on my life. So I just remember those days. But you know, yeah, it's not too bad.
Okay, so Ollie, for the people who don't know who you are, like who and why are you?
Who am I?
Here?
Why am I here? Okay, so I'm an animator that's been now working in the biz for God, how long now? God, I have to think about it now. God, it is like 20. Oh my God. So it's over 20 years. Oh my God. Okay. So yes, I'm an ancient old man that's been doing this sort of thing for quite a long time. I used to work in stop motion for most part, working on shows like Bob the Builder and Shaun the Sheep and stuff like that, for these big companies in Britain. And in the last 10 years or so, I'd say I've changed most of what I do from stop motion to 2D work for using Toon Boom Harmony. And I find that generally speaking, that's where my career is going now, really. And now, because I know the software really well, I'm starting to teach other people and writing books about it and stuff like that, particularly regarding rigging. That's the thing that I'm at this particular moment focusing on, because I think there's quite a lot of potential. Basically, what I'm trying to do is make 2D animation as stop motion-y as possible for me to manipulate the characters, basically.
Okay.
I'm trying to pull the rest of the world in my direction. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm about, I suppose, at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because we talked about this the last time we were talking, where you don't necessarily animate your characters pose to pose. You animate straight ahead.
I animate straight ahead always, yeah. I occasionally do something where I have a keyframe here and a keyframe there and move it, but very rarely, because I find it gives a robotic movement. And I'm not used to, because I've seen people on the internet, you know, that internet thing, where they're animating a shot and they say, okay, what you do is you move the character from point A to point B, and then you go in here and you adjust the curves here, and then you have to go into this bit and adjust and you think, I'll just move the blinking, you know, you just move it. You know, the joy of watching somebody like Ray Harryhausen and Etu, you know, all those people, is that they just animated, you know, live action, but slower. It's literally the same thing in real life. It's just slower. And so you're getting the curves of movement correctly because you're doing it as you would do in real life. And even when you're doing drawn animation, you're still trying to get most of the animation straight ahead, but then you're sort of structuring it by doing a certain amount of pose to pose. You're trying to sort of get a combination to get a nice balance between fluidity and structure, But obviously with stop motion, the only option you have is to go straight ahead. And that's what I'm used to doing. I just do it by default now. I've been doing it for so many years. I don't have to think about it. I just say, okay, well, I kind of know where I'm about to go to, so I'll have to sort of hit it at this kind of rate. And, once you get the hang of it, it is like breathing and walking. You just sort of do it without thinking about it too much. Okay. I think you just have to kind of do a leap of faith for a large amount of it. And then eventually you just sort of know the sensations and feelings. And, it's only very occasionally that you get something wrong and think, okay, well, that didn't work out, I'll scrap it and start again. And I still think that it, by and large, takes about the same amount of time. And you get a better result. I think you get a better result.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, and maybe you'll mention this later, you said writing books. That was in plural. Are you allowed to say what you're talking about?
Yeah. Well, in the last, because the last time I spoke to you, I just finished writing the first version of this book, which was Rigging Techniques in Harmony 17.
Right.
The 20 version, which is updated with like 200 extra pages, and there's God knows how many more extra bits and pieces in it. It also had a sneak preview of the next book at the end of it. So whereas this book was kind of like just talking you through actually how to rig a puppet. So it was, it went into some advanced stuff, but it just pretty much told you how a puppet is made, how to put it together, where the features are, how to use them, basic principles on every level. The new book, I just fast forward to the bit where it shows off the new stuff. This is going to be a cookbook. So this is for when you know how to rig a puppet, but now you want to sort of go off and do something that's unique or it's going to be useful for the characters that you want to make, things like that. So I'm sort of splitting it up into 8 parts here. When I wrote this, when I sort of created this kind of preview of things, some of these things, like the line section, is actually going to have a few more parts, or various. Some of the other parts, like flesh, is certainly going to have some extra parts that I hadn't thought of when I was originally conceiving this book. It pretty much just tells you, like a cookery book, how to do a particular type of thing. So it'll just go through step by step. It's much more classically based than the previous book was. The previous book was deliberately designed in a fairly loose form way with occasional step-by-step bits, whereas this is going to be nothing but step-by-step bits. It's just saying, okay, if you want to do lines, this is how to do line stuff. If you want to do flesh, this is how to do flesh stuff. If you want to do hair, this is how to do hair. And you have as many different types of different ways of doing something as I can possibly think of, because there's not ever one way of doing anything. I'll talk about a character which I developed. I created a character largely for this book, who won't actually feature in this book, but the techniques creating her will. And I wanted to really test out some of the techniques and get them finalized and figured out properly, so that when I put them into the book, they'll be as clean and as clear as possible, rather than saying, a few days later, oh, actually, I wish I'd put this in.
Right.
If I work them out and figure them out and get them as crisp as I can, then I can sort of figure out how to put them into, a book like this. So this was sort of setting out my stall of what I'm about to create. This was at the end of the last book. And then I've actually got to sit down and write a lot of these bits and pieces. But for the most part this year, I've been just creating demos for myself and figuring out things so that I'm ready to make this book, which should be starting to come out hopefully at the end of the year. So all these bits and pieces, they're going to be more chapters in here, but this is sort of what I roughly came up with last year. So yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
I was talking to some of my colleagues, and because I was looking at the book and I said, I just need to grab, because I have, being a Patreon, it's like I have your books, and so I was looking at the PDF. I was like, I really want to just take this to the shop and just have it printed out so I can just have it next to me.
Oh, I know.
And flip through it.
I know. I want that. And I think, and I don't mean it as a vanity project. I do actually mean, I really wish I just had that by my side as a sort of notebook, especially since it's getting so big now. Because I have got to redo. I wanted to redo some of the original book in midway through the year, and I just haven't had the time to do that. I really have got to. And now, since they've released Harmony 21, I've really got to do it.
Right.
And put you in it. I haven't forgotten that, Tony. I'm going to put you in it.
No pressure.
No, but I haven't forgotten. But the point is, I've been so swamped, not just with research and work, but also family stuff as well. So it really has been a heavy year this year. But in terms of making it into a paper book, I think the only way that I could realistically do it is to split it up into respective bits and pieces. So I think I can't remember, I think there are about 5 separate chapters in the original. So I probably have to make them into individual little books like they've done with Richard Williams' book.
Yes. Yes.
I thought that was a good idea. So anywhere there's, apart from that one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 different chapters. So I'd probably have to do that, because printing a book it's up to like 580 pages almost. It's not going to happen. This great big tome coming out like the Bible. But I think, I definitely would like it to happen, but I don't at the moment. I don't have the time, because I'm writing the new book and researching all the stuff. And also to print that costs quite a lot of money. It's difficult to find somewhere that will print a book that's got a fairly niche audience.
Right.
I've actually talked to somebody from Toon Boom UK saying, would that be a possibility that you could help me out trying to figure out how to do this? And it sounded nice, but then it went cold. I don't know. Maybe I need to pursue it a bit more. But certainly the logistics of sorting out a book like this in a printed form is not an easy thing to do.
Right.
Unfortunately. The first thing I've got to do before I do any of this, I want to try and get this book eventually onto Amazon and iTunes as well.
Right.
In that form. Certainly the other book I want in that form, because the idea behind the next book, the book I'm writing at the moment, is that my Patreon subscribers would get a chapter every month. That's sort of how fast I want it to be written. But then when the month is over, they won't have access to it. So it's like getting quick, And then when the full book's done, that's going to be available to buy as a full book. So this will still be around in this sort of updated form. That's, the How to Rig book isn't changing, but the other book, the way that's going to be funded, obviously Patreon members will get access to the chapters. That, can't be that brutal to not allow them. But for anybody else, and there is quite a lot of demand for people that don't want to do the Patreon thing, they would have to buy the book, and they'd have access to buy this book in a full sort of fat, big form somewhere else. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. But I certainly don't want to annoy my Patreon subscribers and not allow them to have access to something that they're essentially helping me make, Right. So I put it out on Twitter that's the model that I was thinking of, and everyone was really in support of it. So I thought, oh, good, I'm on the right track there. Because, they've been fantastic. They've all been so really helpful to me, because I haven't, this year it's been pretty much my only income. I haven't had an awful lot else going on, because, as I say, I've been doing quite a lot of family stuff that's been taking up rather a lot of my life. It has been very important, actually, that's been kept going. And it's allowed me to make things like the Empress and, which is research for the next book. It hasn't just been a jolly for me to make a funny character. It's been, let's calmly sit down and do the R&D work, which a lot of companies don't have the time to do. They really don't have the months and months and months to spend and figure things out that she has been afforded me to be able to write about, you know.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So let me hit you with my first question.
Okay.
And this is something that's very close to me, and I've said I've said this actually to some members of Toon Boom.
Okay.
And so it's like because it's not anyway.
I know what's coming. Yeah.
Harmony Essentials is the redheaded, often forgotten stepchild of Toon Boom. Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
Well, I understand why you say that, Tony.
Ooh,
and
okay.
I'm not in total disagreement with you. I think I think you have to always remember that if you bought the closest competitor, which is the Adobe Animate thing,
right?
That thing that people use, it's really expensive. You can't buy it out right now, but it used to be something like 500 quid. I don't know what that is in dollars. It's probably like $600, something like that. And if you're buying it throughout the year, it still works out more expensive than an outright copy of Harmony Essentials. So I would argue that Harmony Essentials is cheaper than Adobe Animate, because I think it actually is. And when you look at it that way, the things that Toon Boom Essentials can do far outrank anything that Adobe Animate can do. So on that level, that's no brainer. I would definitely urge anybody now, especially since seeing how slow and how sluggish and everything, and how it's still annoying a lot of Adobe Animate is. So on that front, I would say I would learn this, because it's at least a step in the right direction to what a lot of studios would want as well. If you're trying to learn that, the tools are in the right tool set, all of that sort of stuff. The general interface is kind of the same. Now, the things that I would lean more on your argument with are the lack of a node view. I think that would be beneficial to everybody to have that included, not the nodes necessarily. I think, fair enough, keep the nodes really stripped back, just have peg and drawing and, cutter and whatever it is. But, the bones and things. But, I think that is probably the most essential thing to keep, only because it's the one that allows you to understand the most basic way to rig a character. And if you're trying to get a workforce ready for premium, they're not able to figure anything out without that node view. It's a totally new wham experience as soon as they come onto it in this sort of brave new world, when they're faced with it, when they're working. Whereas it would have been much better if they'd been figuring this sort of thing out in their bedrooms, figuring it out on their own, without having, to sort of then quickly, rushedly figure it out on some company's time. So I would say the node view is the thing that I understand why they got rid of it for Essentials, but I would say it would be more sensible to keep it in. That's pretty much it. The only other thing is the way that pegs and drawings are handled. I don't know if they've changed it since Harmony 21, but when I was looking at Essentials last, when you wanted to manipulate a character's rig, you had to hit the apply to peg button or something first. So when you wanted to sort of move a character's thing around, let's just have a look here.
Right.
If you were wanting to move that hand around, in Essentials, you would have to press this, which is the peg selection mode, and then you can sort of move the thing around. Whereas if you don't do that in Essentials, you're just supposedly moving the drawing around, and because there's no way of stopping the animation of that drawing, you've got a keyframe on the drawing layer, which just adds an extra level of frustration and complexity. It's just join them together. Is it really that much of a premium feature to allow that to happen? So I would say the peg and the drawing relationship, where the drawing doesn't have a keyframe on it and the peg does, and you just integrate that into it, that should also be an essential feature. It's so fundamental to the working of a puppet, and it makes it so much more pleasurable. I don't understand why that's supposedly a professional feature. I understand that you want to make boundaries. I totally accept that, and I respect that and understand it. But I think too much of this nip, nip, nip. I think also, Adobe made, I would say, that mistake. They did the same thing when they had they had Flash. Was it actually? I'm not sure if it was Adobe or not, but there was a version, whether it was Macromedia or Flash or Adobe, where they had Flash sort of normal, Flash standard, and Flash professional, and I largely thought that was a mistake even then, and then eventually they just amalgamated it into one thing. I understand why they have, because I think they reduced the price of professional and raised the price of standard, so it became just one thing. And then, of course, they changed their model of pricing anyway to this hellish thing that it is now. But I think Harmony would, if I was running the company, let's go there. If I was running the company, I think I would have it only as 2 versions, not 3. And I would be a little more generous to some features, not others, with the lower one. I think that's where I would go. But I wouldn't for 1 minute say that it was not worth having. I certainly think it's a good thing to get started with animation. I mean, for goodness sake, you can create, in terms of learning the craft, it's got everything you need, and it works really fast, and it doesn't require nearly the same resources as Animate does. It's really good. So, let Toon Boom do what they need to do. And I disagree with some of the things, but largely I'm glad that it exists. I'll put it that way. In fact, I'll just go on before I finish. I really wanted this year to make a series of 3 epic-sized tutorials on Harmony Essentials. And unfortunately, because of events in my life and everything else, I haven't been able to do it this year, but I'm definitely going to do it next year, because I really, really want to just get a lot of the technical stuff out of the way, which Essentials forces you to do anyway, and just to wallow in the joy of just making fun stuff and encouraging other people to make fun stuff,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because I've been, I think my roots were in Essentials, because for the longest time I didn't want to even look at the node view. So I was like, look at all the cool stuff I can do in Essentials. It's awesome. Because I didn't even mess with Advanced, but and lately I've had. I said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna redo," because we made I actually built out a couple of rigs, and unbeknownst to me, because I pop up in conversations at Toon Boom occasionally when I'm not there. So I was talking to someone. Yeah, I was talking to someone. They said, "Yeah, I think one of the first tutorials I saw of yours was you were rigging together a puppet, but you were doing it in the timeline." And I was like, "How is he doing that?" And I'm going, well, yeah. And so the hilarious part was I didn't think anything that it was a big deal until I went back to try to do it. It's like, oh wait, I can't do composites.
It's not fun, is it? Yeah, right. I know. Yeah.
So when I started rebuilding it, people said, "Well, why are you building this out in Premium?" I said, because I'm still going to build it so it can be open and can work in Essentials, but to build it correctly where you don't have everything stuck into the main composite. It made it easier for me to do it over in Premium, because I can't just add in a composite.
Yes. Yeah, I see what you mean.
And I think for the most part, they're saying if you're trying to do cutout animation, you have to be in Premium. If you're just doing regular hand
I think
drawing,
that's largely,
then you can go ahead and use Essentials.
Yeah.
So
I know somebody who uses what's it called? Storyboard Pro for doing their animation with. They actually do full animation in that.
Okay, that's a wow.
So it's because it gives him everything he needs. It was this fact that it had really good drawing tools. He needed the storyboard stuff anyway, because that's what he I don't think he does that quite so much now, but it's a college friend of mine. He now runs a YouTube channel of his own, Arshad. He's really, really good. He worked for Disney and stuff like that. But he did storyboard stuff initially. So I think that's the reason why he had the software. But then he found, oh, actually, I can use this as proper drawing stuff anyway. And he really is a purist when it comes to drawn animation. So he wouldn't want any of this stuff. He just wants to draw it and color it in, and that's it. So it does it. So it, he's good. That's the thing. I mean, he doesn't, because you are needing so little, you are literally just creating all of the rigging yourself because you're drawing everything. You don't really need anything else other than just a good set of drawing tools and the ability to play it back cleanly. I mean, even that's the frustrating thing, even Animate can't play things back at the right rate. It's so clunky now and slow. I mean, there was a time when Macromedia owned it and it was really fast. It was a light little nippy thing. It was fantastic. So many people were learning animation through it. And then Adobe have just added and added and added to it for no real reason. Most of what they've added is not right, and it's really slow, and they have actually systematically ruined one of the best things they owned. It's sad to see, really.
I know. Honestly, I saw someone and they did this really beautiful game, and I was like, "Oh, cool! What are you animating in?" And I think they said Flash MX, and I was like, whoa.
Yes.
And it was like, they were like,
was that recently?
This is recent. I was talking to someone.
Yeah.
And
I'm not
actually
surprised.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. They're actually on the summit as well.
Yeah.
But I'll send you the link of what they were building. And it was just like, because I first saw it, I was just like, oh, cool. This looks like it was probably in Harmony. And then to find out, no, it's just not in quote unquote Adobe Animate. It's in the early version.
Yeah. I know Flash. A lot of people that held off upgrading it for ages and ages because the brush tools still were pretty good in the older versions, and it was faster and all this sort of stuff. And when I worked for Sun and Moon on the Macro Terror, the Doctor Who remake, there were quite a lot of workforce still using Animate. I don't think they still use it there, but I think they have largely gone over to Toon Boom now because they can make so much. They can make things so much more efficiently in this. But they were jumping through so many hoops and were quite used to it. That was the thing. They didn't expect anything more. So they were making all sorts of very elaborate concessions in their pipeline to allow for what would be considered fairly basic stuff in Harmony. But, like bending in, like this, for example, on my characters here, doing that in Animate is technically possible, but you've got to create replacement arms for every stage, and you've got to select them, and then you've got to put the hand in the right place. There's so many extra steps, whereas this was done in literally nanoseconds. But they were used to that and had factored that in, and so were creating things with that. And that's not uncommon. I think a lot of companies have been doing that for a long time because they've got a workforce, they understand this software, so it makes sense that they would make more with it, especially if they're paying for, Adobe's grand, big fun house of Adobe products. They've got it all there. Why would they want to spend more money on something else? And then you think, well, because it's rubbish, That's the reason. And I don't, all my software, the only thing I spend yearly is a silver subscription to this. That's it. All the rest of my software is paid out for. I have Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo, Affinity Publisher. So that's sort of my drawn applications set up. And then I've got Final Cut, for video editing, and I've got a few other things. I don't need to spend a regular subscription, and all of those pieces of software were quite cheap. I mean, Affinity is like 40 quid or something like that. It's nothing. And that's it. I've bought the thing, and it's really, really good. It's not some crappy, it's not like GIMP or something, which some people love, and I just could never really, I didn't really connect with it. You know what I mean? It's not whether that's the other thing. Some pieces of software are good, but you don't feel the love for it, do you? So you just think, I don't really want to use it because I don't like the icons. Or, you know, it's something as shallow as that.
Yes.
And, you know.
Like, can't you make this prettier? Why does it look like this?
You know, if I'm going to spend most of my day looking at this, I don't want it to look like a horse's bum. I want it to look attractive. I mean, I went over to Blender and started to use that largely because they'd updated the interface. Oh, look, it actually looks quite good now. Whereas before it looked like something from like the 1990s Amiga computer. I thought, I don't really want to touch that. And it was totally shallow. It's absurd, really. But there we go. You know, I think there is a pleasure in it.
There's a reason why UI design is a thing.
It's very important. Well, I mean, do you have Windows? I assume.
No, I have. I'm on a Mac.
You have a Mac as well.
Yes.
Okay, because I've seen the new look Windows 11. And I came from Windows originally. I'm not going to do that pure, you know, I'm from the puritanical Mac world and blah, blah, blah. Because actually, I thought Windows 10 was a really good looking system. I really liked the bright colors and the blocks and stuff. I thought it was really good. And I understood why they'd done certain things for, you know, the tablet and everything. I thought that was really well thought out, actually. But then when they've come over to Windows 11, they've sort of gone over to, let's do Mac stuff. But they've not really understood how a Mac actually looks. So what they've completely removed any kind of personality from what they originally had and replaced it with these teeny tiny little bland icons that have absolutely I really hate it. I thought, oh my God, if I had to stand looking at that all day, I think I'd have to check myself into the, you know, depression clinic. It looks so miserable. It's the most miserable, you know, USSR kind of. Oh, no. It's so grey. Everything's colourless. And, oh, no. That's me telling it. But, yeah. I'm sure. But when they do Windows 12, they probably pull it full.
Maybe
loads of colours and stuff again. That's what they usually... Well, they tend to do that, don't they? Every other version of Windows is not very good. So, like, Windows 8 wasn't very good, but Windows 10 really was. And then before, I think, like, Vista was... Everyone hated that, didn't they? And then... But Windows 8... Blah, blah, blah. Anyway. Rein me in, Tony. I'm starting to go on.
Okay, next question. All right. So, do you think that a lot of adult animation is marketed and or funded? Let me rephrase that. Do you think a lot of the adult animation is marketed and or funded, and it's more about comedy and lewd gags, or do you think there's a rise in more highbrow humor?
Now, I have not a story to go with this, but I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine about this sort of thing when we were going to the opera the other day. And he's like me. He likes high and low art. So we will, you know, pore over comic books and watch Doctor Who and, you know, like Marvel and stuff like that. But then we'll also watch Madame Butterfly and go to a theatre and, you know, look at some high art and stuff. So it's a real mixture. We like just anything. But I really like Rick and Morty. Not that makes me stand out from the crowd because most people like Rick and Morty. But he doesn't at all. He doesn't like that kind of cynical, everything's got to be sort of slightly, you know, sexual and, you know, it's very cynical, you know, that sort of thing, as you were saying. And yeah, I mean, most adult animation is quite cynically minded. It's quite, and especially, unfortunately, because Rick and Morty is so good, and the concepts are so fascinating, but a lot of people just latch onto the way it looks, which is in some respects, not the later episodes at all, but in some respects, quite crude. Obviously, the later stuff, once the general concept of the show is they start around the table having a meal, and then the Galactic Empire suddenly smash through the front window, and then, you know, all hell's let loose, and you've suddenly got a huge amount of aliens and spaceships and God knows what, walking trees or whatever. So suddenly it gets very, very complicated very quickly. But initially it's very basic looking characters with squiggly little pupils and stuff. And the problem is that a lot of people, because that's been a success, a show like that started very, very crude. If you look, that somebody uploaded on YouTube the original Rick and Morty's, which were actually Doc and Marty, and it's a parody of Back to the Future, isn't it?
Yes.
And the characters are basically, it's just one joke about, also, it's very lewd and it's very stupid, but it has evolved on its own to the point where it is now its own animal. And the style of the whole thing has evolved very naturally to the point where it now is. So that's the way to create a series. It grows from in its own direction correctly to where it should go to. Whereas a lot of people, and I've had commissions like this, say, oh, we like Rick and Morty. Can you make something like Rick and Morty? Just make that. Basically make that show, because that's successful. So make that again and again and again and again, and that'll just somehow magically make a fantastic award-winning series and make us a lot of money. And of course, it doesn't work that way. And the frustrating thing is that there is an awful lot of adult animation that has done the same thing with Family Guy in particular. That is make it like Family Guy. Well, Family Guy did Family Guy really well, but nobody else has for a reason. There are, I would say that most adult animation isn't very good, because it's chasing after something that is very good. Occasionally you'll get something that comes through and is good. I mean, certainly in terms of British animation, I don't think there's any adult animations that I would say are any good anymore. The best thing Britain did that was adult animation was something back in the noughties called Monkey Dust.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No, I haven't.
It was a very surreal sketch show that was made. They made 3 series of it, the BBC. And the style of each sketch was wildly different from each other, because essentially they let the animators loose on the scripts. So the scripts would be written by quite a good team of writers, and then voiced, and then pretty much, I think, as far as I could gather, handed over to various directors, say, right, okay, off you go and do something with that. And the thing that tied all the sketches together was the fact that it was all set at nighttime, and it was all kind of in a sort of dystopian Britain. The sketches were all quite dark, basically. If you just looked at it, each scene was all very different. Some of them worked and some of them didn't, but there was something so dramatically unique about it. There was nothing like it at all. And it wasn't trying to do, a lot of British animation now, if they've ever tried to do it since, there was a series called Full English. Have you heard of that?
No.
I'm not surprised, because hardly anyone did.
I have to keep a pencil and paper when I'm talking to you, because I'm like writing this down.
Hardly anybody heard of it. It was a series on Channel 4 over here that I think they made one series of. Nobody watched it, even in this country. And it's trying to do Family Guy, but very badly. Desperately trying to do lewd jokes and silly things to just be notice. It was so embarrassingly bad, sadly. And we've got another sitcom as well coming out called, oh God, I can't even remember what it's called, but it's something to do with the royals. It's always to do with the royals. That's all we do in this country. Royal family. It's what they like. It's what the Yanks like. Give them the royal family. Love it. And it's all, again, it's awful. It's the same sort of concept of a little baby white. It might as well be Stewie in the royal family, and you've got the Queen sassing it up, and it's just so embarrassing. The problem is that if you get a really good series like Rick and Morty or Family Guy or The Simpsons, at least when they were starting out, they were well-rounded, interesting characters that had a story to tell. They weren't just one-hit wonder jokes, Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of the copycat ones go straight in at the jump the shark moment and just do the top level stuff, which a bad sitcom has. There's no depth to any of the characters. There's no actual sort of motivation. It's just, gag. And I think that a lot of adult animation has a lot of, I would say kids animation also suffers from this, the copycat syndrome, that there are other ones that compete. They want to get the same hit that another one has got, So I think certainly jumping on the tropes of bad taste, sex, drinking, drugs, all the usual cliches. There doesn't seem to be any aspect to adult animation other than those things, frustratingly. And it would take another avant-garde in the mold of Rick and Morty, not looking like Rick and Morty, to break that. But that happens just on its own. It's a spontaneous thing. I don't think you can sort of engineer that. Most of the time, there's quite a lot of opposition to it because it's brand new. That's the irony. In order to get something that will actually work, a lot of people hesitate and say, oh, we don't want that. I think, no, you do want that. You just don't know. You know, that's the frustrating thing. And I think certainly with regards to, animations that have come out for kids, that's exactly the same problem. I mean, I've encountered that in my career so many times, working on a show where I think, I think this is just a copy of something. And sure enough, it's not done very well. And then something that was quite new has actually gone through and has been okay. Or, it doesn't always work, of course. I mean, that's the great risk of creativity, isn't it? You just don't know. But you have got to try. The most dangerous thing is to copy something else, because you're probably always going to fail, I think. But it never looks that way to investors. They say, oh, right, okay, this has worked before, so we'll just do that again. Hollywood, I mean, that's the mantra of Hollywood for time immemorial, isn't it, really?
Definitely. Yeah, I just watched a thing yesterday. It's on Netflix, Attack of the Hollywood Cliche. So they showed every last... It's like, oh, there's the meet cute. There's the renegade cop. There's this. Yeah. And it's like, and they broke it down. And then some of them were like, oh, wow, this is... Okay, I knew about that one. I never thought about that one. That's crazy.
I know. What's your favorite adult animation, actually?
My favorite adult animation currently, honestly, no. I was going to say one, but actually the episode comes out today. I've been watching Star Trek Lower Decks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you mentioned that last time we talked.
Yes, actually. Because and what I think a lot of people were upset about it because they're just trying to be like Rick and Morty. But if you look at it, it is the Star Trek fanboys, like it's the animation, because there hasn't been one since the classic. Yeah. But what's cool about it is they do all of these Easter eggs. Like, how well do you know Star Trek? Because they did one of the episodes where I think they ran into one of these people he was a collector. But it's like, they tried to collect data. And they're like, everybody tried to collect data. And so it's like, and so they're showing this. But inside of his ship, there was this giant body that was like wearing a classic Star Trek blue shirt. But it was like this giant skeleton. And I'm going, well, what the heck is that? So I literally had to Google it, and it's from the original animated series.
Oh, I see.
Where the guy said, I've made a better Spock. He's Spock 2.0. See, he was literally a giant. Right. And I'm going, they said for that thing, they were trying to put in, how many things can we put in here and see if you notice them?
Ah, I see what you mean. Yeah, so I can understand that being very appealing. Yeah.
So and it's pretty cool.
History.
I got to talk to Dawn Lewis, who actually does the voice of the captain. And I talking to her, I was like, well, where did you get the voice of the captain from? Because I have this actually from last year's interview. And she was talking about how she's been a Trek fan all of her life. And so she was talking about how Captain Kirk everything was very big and bold. And so she kind of made her captain based on all of these different captains. That's very, very, well, this is going to be this, until things just go wrong. She's like, oh, no, you didn't.
Okay.
And so it's just this really cool, I think it's a big, it's an animated love letter to Trek fans. Not everyone's going to agree with it, but I love it.
I mean, I think similar... I mean, anytime you're talking to a fan base, you're never going to please everybody. That's a given anyway. Yeah. I mean, when we were working on the Macro Terror, obviously we were fiddling around with all sorts of elements. And I said, the only thing that fans will really care about are the color of, Patrick Troughton's trousers. It's not, they don't really care about anything. They just care about these very, very specific things. When I've been to Doctor Who conventions, because my partner's a massive Doctor Who obsessive anyway. And I've been to conventions. They're actually quite enjoyable. I quite like the warmth and the love that you get from these things. And they are rather like, and in the nicest possible way, but they are like train spotters in the sense that they're obsessed with collecting information about the episode. So it'll not just be, you know, about the plot, but it'll be, you know, the shape of something, the color of something, who was in it, who they were with, blah, blah, blah. It's very much analytical. You know, it seems to appeal to, you know, a certain type of person, that side of things. Not always, but there is that aspect of it. Certainly my partner's very much like that. And I think, yes, if you know how to work that audience, it can pay back dividends. I mean, the Super Smash Brothers series, the video game, that does exactly that. It just reference to endless amounts of video games, the minutiae of them, to the point where people are just going, oh, I remember that bit and that bit. There is that sense of fellowship, isn't there?
Yes.
And I think, yeah, if you've got something like that, then certainly a show like that, even if it doesn't appeal to somebody in the most dramatic way, it's going to appeal in some way because it's clearly doing it with love, isn't it? If they're referencing all these tiny little things.
All right. So that is all these so far. And again, the full thing is about like an hour and 30 minutes. We'll be posting that next week. And letting you know, if you have not already, please be sure to go ahead to sign up, because this is where I'm pulling the names from to raffle off the rest of our prizes. I think we've only given away like 2 things this week. Thanks, Darren. I appreciate that. Thanks, Skipper Wing. But yeah, if you haven't already signed up for our little newsletter, definitely go ahead and do that, because that's where we're going to be raffling off some things. We have some software. We have several copies of Harmony Premium licenses to give out. Storyboard Pro, and got a lot of Wacom stuff to give out. I think we're going to give a couple of things away, and then after Robert Valley's interview this evening, we'll do the main giveaway from Wacom, which is going to be a 16-inch Cintiq. So yeah, we were planning on doing them during the week, but it's like, and we're just doing them all today. So again, if you haven't signed up already, go ahead and do that. That's where I'm going to be pulling the names from for the raffle. So, all right. Meanwhile, yeah, it's lunchtime. So we'll see y'all in a bit. All right, this has been Tony Ross for the 2D Animation Virtual Summit. Day 5, Part 1, closing off now, and catch y'all back in an hour.